Hello, the Pioneer viewers. How are you doing? I hope you're healthy and well. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring the Russia-Ukraine war to your screens. In a moment, we will share with you a very interesting developments on the front line. As you know, it's been almost 5 months since the Russian army launched its full-scale offensives. The only notable success they achieved in this progress was the Avdiivka process. For a long time, the Ukrainian armed forces gave the good test. Nowadays, the struggle continues, and the Ukrainian armed forces are still repelling the attacks of the Russian army. Ukrainian troops fighting at many points have disturbed the structure of the Russian troops. In the past days, some members of the Ukrainian armed forces repelled the attacks of the Russian army in an incredible way. The commander of the Russian soldiers also gave an incredible punishment to the Russian soldiers. So what are the details of this incident? Let's take a look. Oh my god, what's wrong with me? At developments together. As the Pioneer team, we continue to bring you developments regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. You can also support me and my hardworking team by using the super thanks button below the video. Let's start if you are ready. The Pioneer reports. Soldiers of the 8th Separate Mountain Assault Battalion of the 10th Mountain Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces unexpectedly faced an attack by the Russian army, and the Russian troops launched an infantry attack after an intense shelling. A large number of Russian troops were trying to advance as part of an offensive operation known as the Meat Offensive. In fact, the Ukrainian troops were outnumbered by the Russian troops. Given the intense shelling, the Ukrainian troops really didn't stand a chance. It seems inevitable that the Russian troops would take the position, but one Ukrainian soldier foiled all the plans of the Russian soldiers. The struggle of the Ukrainian soldiers who put up its defense on his own caused a great shock to the Russian army. Russian soldiers were preparing to enter the positions and clear them. Then was no chance of easy help for the Ukrainian soldiers who stayed in their positions. Therefore, we can say that the Ukrainian soldiers were on their own. One of these soldiers was determined to do his best to save his friends, and the Ukrainian soldier took his friends in the trench to hide at the bottom of the trench. He was slowly retreating, but at every point he retreated, he set up a trap. Thanks to his traps, the Ukrainian soldier was able to destroy many Russian soldiers who were trying to advance during the retreat. At a corner, he set up his machine gun and waited for the Russian soldiers. As soon as the Russian soldiers turned the corner, the Ukrainian soldiers started to press the trigger of his machine gun. At this point, the Ukrainian soldier managed to destroy 10 more Russian soldiers. The remaining Russian soldiers could not resist the Ukrainian soldiers' resistance. They were forced to leave the trench and flee. The flight of the Russian soldiers caused great anger among the Russian commanders. According to some local sources, Russian commanders even beat the Russian soldiers who preferred to flee in the face of the Ukrainian soldiers' resistance. Images were also published about this incident. The footage shows one of the Russian commanders shouting to the Russian soldiers as follows: "Someone from the left must come and finish him off. Throw a grenade at him. A man is holding you up. 1. There are 10 of you. You incompetent bastards." This incredible defense by the Ukrainian soldier was met with great interest. Footage of the operation and the firefight was posted on social media. It was watched by millions of users. The 10th Mountain Assault Brigade of the Ukraine made the following statement: "Our soldier remained alive and healthy after repelling the attacks of 10 invaders in cold blood. He forced the remnants of the enemy to flee, defend his position, and waited for reinforcements. Today marks exactly 2 years of our tireless and courageous struggle against the sworn enemy, not only for freedom and self-determination, but also for the right to life. This is just one of 100, maybe 1,000 proofs of that." It is not yet known on which front line the Ukrainian armed forces carried out this intensive operation. However, according to the statements, this operation took place on the Donetsk front line. A military expert who made statements on the subject also used the following statements: "When we analyze this operation carried out by the Ukrainian soldiers, we see a combination of strategy and heroism. Russian soldiers, on the other hand, are inexperienced and act independently of a strategy. If we evaluate the failure of the Russian troops to reach the set targets in the clashes that have taken place so far from this point of view, we will reach the right point. This process will probably continue for a long time. There is already a disturbing chain of weaknesses that have been identified in the Russian soldiers. These weaknesses will only increase as the process continues, and frankly, I don't expect that the Russian war leadership took any measures. While the Ukrainian soldiers continue to respond to the attacks of the Russian soldiers on the front line, drones of the Ukrainian armed forces continue to hit critical targets within the borders of the Russian Federation. In recent days, drones belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces managed to enter the Russian airspace. The air defense systems of the Russian army failed once again. Unmanned aerial vehicles of the Ukrainian army managed to hit an iron production facility within the borders of the Russian Federation. The statements about this operation, which took place at night, came from Lipetsk region Governor Igor Artamonov. Artamonov made the following statements about the drone attack. A drone caused a fire at Novolipetsk steel's main plant about 450 kilometers from the Russian-Ukrainian border. Our efforts to assess the damage at the site and our investigations into the origin of the drones are ongoing. According to the initial assessments, there are no casualties among local residents. According to our sources in the area, the damage to the steel production facility is extensive. Images from the area also show the steel production facility engulfed in flames. Local sources also report that this steel production is actively involved in the production of weapons used by the Russian army. Therefore, we can assume that the arms production of the Russian army will be affected by this situation. The successful resistance of the Ukrainian armed forces and their attacks behind the front lines continue to wear down the Russian army. With 2 years left in the war, the Ukrainian army is determined to end this war in its third year. In the third year of the war and the occupation, Ukrainian soldiers want to drive the Russian soldiers from their homeland. But will they succeed? Time will tell us. So what do you think? Do you think the operations carried out by the Ukrainian armed forces are effective? What do you think about the failure of the Russian soldiers against a single Ukrainian soldier? Do you think that the attacks behind the front line are effective and sufficient? Or how do you evaluate the Ukrainian army's unmanned aerial vehicle attacks? Let me know in the comments, as I read and I care about all of your comments.